Okay, so we're picking up with what we spoke about yesterday, which was plungers. Plungers. We said that we're going to come back to the Heliga plungers. So just to mention, it's very interesting because yesterday it was quoted at the end of the Shemiras Shabbos in Ha'ara Nun Beis, we're in Perek Yud Beis over here. Shemiras Shabbos ends that Mikima Sheina Dvarim Kol Kach Burim. It's not so clear. V'gamesh Yish V'zem Mishum Avdin L'chol L'chein Ein L'hakel. And he says, "Af meshevat beitit, even a household one, a little bit shasat chak, sarach gadol, kain shamati mishum zalman." So you read this footnote, and it's pretty violent. It's pretty violent. What's interesting is if you were to look up the Rosh Zalman inside, whether it's in the Mincha Shleima and Chelik Beis Yud Gimel Eis Gimel, or whether it's in the Shulchan Shleim that quotes the same, over there he's much, much more forgiving. And over there, he basically tells you that it's not considered a broken item, and as long as you're not doing the Uman type, it's going to be mutter. So when it comes back to wanting to know what's the story with the plunger on Shabbos, there are many, many machmirim. Many machmirim. Lamais, the Davidson Arav, the Ber Moshe, is quite violent over here. He uses words of Chol HaMachmir, Eino Elotaya, B'davar Pashit, V'lo Matzi Yadav Raglav Beis HaMedrash. He didn't mince his words. Shater Shekesafti, Hu Baruch Kishemesh, Vein B'dvarai, Hasgoisav Sal Shel Hashaga. He's you got a little poetic over here. Lamaisa, he held it was mutter, if I should say it that way. Lamaisa, I think the average Jew, and they were posed, if they knew this was a shayla, they would open up the one English sefer they have in their house on Hilchos Shabbos, which is going to be Rabbi Ribiat. And Rabbi Ribiat says, L'chatzchila one shimachmir. That's what Rabbi Ribiat says. And l'chayra, that is the answer. But we have to be aware. If we're talking about a toilet, let's be open to the fact that Kavod HaBriyos is very high, very high. And we're very forgiving. So a lot of the shayla isn't going to be levels. For example, a few weeks ago, someone actually asked me, he said one of his, I don't remember what toilet it was. Toilet in the house was stuffed. He has a household snake. Can he use it? So the shayla was clearly that he had other toilets, and I think it's him, his wife, and his one or two children using the bathroom. I don't know what level of tzerich it is to start being mekel, especially there that was a snake, which on a snake you have more machmirin due to uvdin the chol. V'chulu l'mais, the Ber Moshe is still mekel, so you do have one to be mekel on. But definitely the lechatchila, what exactly happened here with Rosh Zalman is a good shayla, and probably something to talk about with the Talmidim. Someone here asked about Drano. So apparently there's two types of Drano. Apparently there's one type that mamish melts the stuff. Drano you put down the sink. And there's another type that's sort of like, and your pipes, yeah. Another type that sort of just like pushes it to the side. I don't really know the difference. Lemaisa, more machmer than makel. It seems like Drano, what do you say? Extreme poison. Please be careful. Do not keep Drano around children. What else? Grapes, paraffin. Paraffin is what? That's the stuff you put in your leichter. It looks beautiful. Don't buy. We've already made this public announcement once. One of the brands doesn't have the double seal on top. Please do not buy that brand. I feel bad for their business, but they should, sakana, we should be careful. And if you do, at least, put it away. That's, so again, nachamal, plungers, pashtas are okay. When it comes to the snake, once you refrain. Drano, again, once you refrain. If it's a very, very shver matziv, does seem that could be Yena Ber Moshe, might be Mekel and Drano, but it is definitely something that should not be utilized flippantly. And with that, we move on. There's a lot of interesting sidebar sugyas he gets involved in over here, which, not exactly sure how much to go into them. Sifya Test, he discusses a sink that's going to drain into the grass, into a vegetative area, which is going to be also Nageya. There's going to be Nageya Sukkis. Nageya, someone who has a porch. Eretz Yisrael, you have a porch and you have a sponge hole. You let it push the water down there. I'll just mention, there's some Zalman here does have an interesting kula. He wants to say Koyach Sheni with a grama, even though it's a psikaresha, he's makel. Koyach Sheni with a grama. So you have to figure out what is called a Koyach Sheni with a grama. but he doesn't quote in Noda Yehuda. That's something else. He's going Kerch Sheni over here, not just al Tudor Abundance, but it's in the lumdus of Grama that he's going with. Kerch Sheni and a Grama, he's more willing to make. Again, big sugya, we're not getting involved in it. In Sif Chaf over here, he talks about how you're allowed to use water stam in your house. All your water runs through a sha'on, a meter, and therefore every time you open the faucet, you're making the meter run, which could be multiple issues. It could be an issue of medida on Shabbos, which is you're not allowed to measure things in Shabbos, etc., etc. Lemaisa, he's mekel, and we'll leave it at that. Chav Aleph, he talks about what if you have nimalim v'charakim. What is a who? A zarem is a stream. I don't know what word you just said, but a zarem is a stream. That's into the stream. You're pushing it into the thing and you get rid of it. This is like a sickest thing. We're not getting involved in that. Chaval, he talks about ants and other items that are in your sink. What do you do now? Because if you open the water, you're going to kill them. So he says, you have to be careful that you cannot kill them directly. You don't have to look. You have to look. I mean, I don't think our households, we have like, is there ants in the sink or not? I don't know if it's so common. Although, interesting, last night my son claims that a ladybug was sitting on the tip of the sink. I'm not sure how she, or all ladybugs female, I'm not sure. It was green. What? Which one? Which one are you talking about? Yeah. This is all the, the secretion, all that gishmakarade. This also negaya. We spoke about this when we're washing lettuce and things that have vade bugs. If you're going to kill them, it's going to be a problem. He says, Gamin lefaze ra'al. You're not allowed to put poison. Why not allowed to put poison out? Because it could kill a child, God forbid, or anyone else. I'm going to ask Likol Osam to kill the animals or the ants. Okay, again, we don't have, but he did say you don't have to look for an area. In Eretz Yisrael, there are, I don't want to blame Eretz Yisrael, you can have this anywhere, but I don't know, certain areas, I'm thinking outside Gan Machal over there, there's certain areas, there's always like this shtickle army of ants. I don't think it's anything to do with Eretz Yisrael, I'm sure they're all over the place. But you don't have to look to make sure you don't step on them. Okay, Chav Beis, here we go. Chav Beis gets into Nusika. Chav Beis talks about drying. That's a good question. It's a good question. It's a good question. It's not a Tigresha, there's a Taz, it's in a Miskavein, it's maybe you're allowed to kill them. V'chulu. That's his kula. That's his kula. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. Chav Beis. You're allowed to drive kelim with that are wet with a towel that is miyuchad for drying the kelim. Mutter afilu nagiv kelim rabbi, let it dry many utensils ben gavet with one towel. Excuse me. Every word here is very precise. Let's get there. Vein chayshim shamagevet. So he says we're not worried that the towel is tirtoiv yeser lamida. Will get more wet than normal. Ribu v'yavel schita. And this is where we're opening ourselves up to that in the world of schita, there are kama v'kama geziras agabe geziras. So here he says that even though when I'm drying 100 forks, cups, plates, my towel's going to get wet. And what happens when my towel gets wet? Maybe you're going to come to wring out the towel. Zokt it's mutter. Why is it mutter? Ki harei im tieretuva. If it will be wet, mide yachlifena ba'acheret b'lavachi. What are you going to do? You're just going to swap it out with another one. And you're not going to come to wring it out. You're not going to come to wring it out. Now, even though this sounds very obvious, when you learn this sugya, this is a very big chiddush for many reasons. It's part of the reason why you want to magevet miuchadet, is because, first of all, you have the issue of shriyasai zui kibusai. You're not allowed to get any garment, any towel, anything wet, because the getting it wet cleans it. Believe it or not, we'll just mention the most common application that people are right here. It's also deraisa, is, the child gets his clothing dirty. So many think, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, I have no clue, I'm not weighing in, certainly not, that if you take the item and you dump it directly into a bucket of water, a bucket of bucket of detergent, thank you, then the stain won't set, and then the stretchy or the clothing won't get ruined. that is an Isser and maybe even a Daraisa on Shabbos. Rabbi, what I do? I just took the clothing and I dumped it in a bucket of water. Shriyasai Zui Kibusai. Soaking something is called the laundering it. That example really brings out the lumdus of it. So one would think that to get any item wet is a problem, and it is. It is bikavana to get it wet. Over here he's talking about when it comes to drying things, if it's miyuchad likach, then is where he says you're allowed to do it, even though it's going to get very wet. We're not worried. So one would obviously understand that if it's not miyuchad likach, let's say you're not taking a hand towel, maybe you're taking in our world these things are hard, but let's pretend a bath towel. It's just a little bit hard because I don't really know what the chilik is. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. But let's say you're drying your dishes with a tablecloth. Why you're doing that? Because you're strange. And that's what happened. You have an extra tablecloth sitting there, and you're going to dry your dish with a tablecloth. There, we would be concerned that when it gets very wet, you're going to come to wring it out because you're afraid it's going to ruin the tablecloth. But Lamaisa, on a hand towel, and the example he's giving is mutter, I'm just trying to bring out that there's he's weaving through a lot of traffic on this heter. Oh, so even there, he did not make that chilik. He did not make that chilik. It could be because the mannerism is that we don't do that. No one here ever said, oh, hey, wait, it's getting wet, let's wring it out. We just don't clean that way. Chav Gimel comes a little bit complicated. Allah Chav Gimel says, Magevet Shanir Teva. Ulam, Klitzar. It might have been a Freudian slip. Ulam, Klitzar. A narrow utensil, kigon koiset like cups, shinish aru baymayim, that have water in it. So what should you do if there's water on the bottom of the cup?
Drink it or spill it out.
That was good. That was quality. Drink it, obviously. If you didn't want to drink everyone from the table's leftovers. Interesting. Baltimore. I'm not getting involved. What should you do? Don't put the towel inside. Pour it out. That's what I thought you were going to say. But let's say you didn't do any of the above. He says, Lo yinagvenu. Don't stick the towel in it. Why? Now listen to his words. And with his words, you'll know what the case is. You're going to be forced to come to schita. Because if you have a very narrow opening and you shove a towel into a narrow opening and there's a liquid on the bottom, the towel gets wet. And as you push it in and pull it out, what happens is it gets nischat. Yes, thank you. Yes. He's talking about that there is water left at the bottom of the cup. So if you look at Aris Samach Aleph, he speaks out what people were thinking. You should not dry it even with a magevet miyuchades, even with a towel that is miyuchad. Shem beis sif yud beis. Mishabur sif kat the sound bear lacha. Ayin sham. To b'shas atchak in limchov zera make lachar shenir samai. Va'ayin ter Shabbos aruchabeis. Shemak shal din zeh. But etzem adin shal kol Sarah. Let's say the bottom is wide. The bakbukim shalana like our bottles. Basically, the point is forget about if you want or you don't want to. It doesn't happen. I've yet to have a cup that is so narrow that maybe if you have like a bottle and you wind up the towel and you snake it in there and you think it and then you pull it out. It's not such a mitziastic case. You would be, even if you don't want it to come out, Schlit is very, very chummy. You're playing with the deraisa. It would be a psikration of l'anichale, which is their abundant. But again, you never squeeze, maybe a baby with a lot of liquid on the bottom. And you put a towel in, so then when you pull out the towel or you push it in, you can come to Schita. Again, I don't know how common it is. The one thing that you do see here, which we're going to see again and again, and we'll see it here, we'll see it later on, is that once you're playing with a lot of liquid, you have to be careful that when you have a lot of liquid and you're going through narrow areas, if it causes the towel to be nischat, it causes the towel to be squeezed, it's an isser. I don't want it. Okay, it's still situation l'nichale. It's still aser dira banan. One last halacha over here is Chaf Gimel says, it's very wet. Also, you can't hang it up to dry it out. This is Rav Nachum Eis's one of his favorite halachas. Once a winter's man, we all got a schmooze that Friday night when you eat at your host house and you come with your clothing's all wet. Be careful when you hang up your coat. Be careful you hang up your coat. Why? Maris ayin. Zero limikaima. Avin titiabe. I'm not to put it back where it belongs, even if it dries. Now this is we're going to pick up from here, but this is, for example, you have a wet towel. You can't go to the laundry room and hang it up in there, even though you're like, well, why not? Because it's a maris ayin. People look at it and think you just did laundry. Now, where is that place? It is not so simple. Yeah, if you have a laundry room, it's pretty simple. But I don't know. Let's say you want to hang it up in the towel in the bathroom. You know, there was a big spill, and you took the bath towel, you cleaned it the big spill. Now you have this towel that's drenched. So what do you want to do with it? You want to hang it up on a hook in the bathroom. Is that ulcer? So it sounds like it's more of an area you have to be able to play with the stigma of the maris ayin. It is a little bit complicated. There's a Kaf Chayim that says as long as the towel is not clean, you could be mekel, which is a little bit of a savior, which in Hara Samach Beis, he asks Kashas that in the Sugya, it sounds like if it's not clean, it should be mekel, but we'll pick it up from here, B'siyata Dishmaya.